Alright, I've begun cleaning this and found even more issues. First thing I did was trace the pinout for the bootleg Miss Pac-Man board. Went online, tried to find a Falcon Ms. Pac-Man bootleg pinout. Rotate over here. Here's the board. That's, well, it's upside down now, but that's the Falcon logo. It says KPM-4. Picture in the ad showed the game running Ms. Pac-Man and said it was a Ms. Pac-Man bootleg. It's got a 36-pin edge connector. And so I eventually found on Mike's Arcade, he has the pinout called Ms. Pac 3 bootleg pinout, and that was pretty close. There's only two things different. There's a control panel ground that on my cab that particular pin doesn't go anywhere, and then it also lists two. I think it's player one start, and one of them is correct. The other one I'm not sure what it goes to. I didn't track it down, but so I then gutted the game. Excuse the moving all over the place. I gutted the game. So that is the switching power supply, wiring harness, power plug, on-off switch. I took the monitor out, which I'll talk about later. And you'll see there's no isolation transformer on the floor here because there's not one in the cab. This Sanyo monitor was connected directly to the AC at the switch. No fuses either in this cab. Power plug goes to the power switch, and then it splits off to the monitor, and then it goes to the switcher, and the switcher goes to power the board, and yeah, there's no fuses in there anywhere, and there's no isolation transformer. So the question is, how was this running without an isolation transformer? I did not power this up at any point after I bought it or while I was looking at it. I went online briefly, and it seemed to indicate that Sanyo monitors, Japanese, use 110. So how is this working plugged into 120 volt out of the wall? I have no flippin' idea. But it's out of the cabinet now. So, taking out of the cabinet, guess what I discovered? Okay, I knew this monitor mounting board was messed up. You can see all the chips and everything, but the bottom looks fairly nice. This painted edge looks correct, so it's almost like maybe it got flipped upside down when somebody was working on the cab. So the monitor barely fit in there. So as I'm trying to pull the monitor out, I didn't realize there was one screw in the back holding it down. So I went to lower this shelf, and the left side mounting block seems to be mounted pretty good to the side of the cabinet. This right side has a big gap all the way down the board, so I took one screw out from here, and sure enough, this wiggled up and down a bit. So I thought, okay, now I've got enough room between that and the discovery that this top panel is not bolted to the cab. I wondered about that because if you look inside, you can see the original staples. They're all pulled out. So yeah, they're not going into the wood, and the glue has failed, which I don't know how they glue these things anyway. This is textured vinyl. What glue sticks to textured vinyl? This is loose, not a big deal, just holds the plexi in place. But yeah, this whole top on that side wiggles and doesn't move. The top on this side is attached well. So again, did this panel come off this cab? I don't know. So I thought, okay, I'll take the back panel off. Maybe that's what's supposed to happen because it's loose on this side. But this side seems to be tight. So yeah, I still don't know if this cab, this whole side ever came off at one time or what the deal is. Fell off a hand truck and got smacked and this side part started to separate. I don't know. But anyway, after undoing this screw so I could lower this a little bit and this side is loose, I was able to pull the monitor out the front of the cabinet. And then I put it on the floor. And then I looked back here and wow, yeah. So there's another issue there. So I talked about that in the first video. This is a thin sheet of some plywood material that is completely blocking the vent hole. So there's supposed to be a piece of wood back there. I think, yeah, right here I can feel glue. So I think there was a block here and a block on the other side. And then that was an inch and a half, whatever. And then a block of wood across them so that would allow air to get in, but if you stuck your fingers in, you wouldn't risk, touching the monitor or any wires because your fingers would hit that board, but the air was able to flow out. So I can look at my other cab and see what that's supposed to look like and possibly make a reproduction of that. The worst thing is the fact that this monitor shelf has been lowered. So if I can get the light, I don't have a long enough cord on my light. You can kind of see there some scrapes and things on the side of the cabinet from the original block where it was supposed to be higher and at more of an angle. So it's easier to see it over here, but I don't know if oh, there we go. I think I got the light there. You can see kind of dirty area and then more clean vinyl that had been covered up by the wood for years until someone butchered it. So that's where that shelf is supposed to be. So to fit that monitor in and fit it vertically, someone moved the entire monitor shelf. So that sucks. And it looks almost like it's shortened. Again, sorry about the light. But there's big gap way back here. Big gap between the cabinet side and the wood. And that side is not so tight either. So I know that this cab is wider than it should be because that back panel was not, they didn't put a big bar clamp and pull the sides together when they nailed. I think there's just one nail holding this side of this entire wood piece in. I think there's just one nail down there. And they didn't have it snugged, that wood piece snugged up against this side of the cabinet when they nailed it in, so it's got a big gap down the side. So what am I going to do? Yeah, right off the bat, I've got a vent hole that's been removed, possibly because that monitor, you can see some scratches right here. That monitor was up against this, so that monitor went all the way back. So I think they probably covered that because they had to take the block and the vent piece out to get that monitor to go far enough back to fit in the cabinet. And then because it's vertical, unlike what I was hoping, is that there just happened to be enough room for it to fit vertically. There wasn't enough room for it to fit vertically, so they lowered the shelf. And on this side, I'm pretty sure if I take two screws out, this whole side, the bracket and this shelf, the shelf's just held in by, it looks like two screws, one on either side. This block looks like it'll just come off. But the other block, that was what I did first, is I did this screw underneath here thinking I could then lower this if I took that screw out and the other one, since there's one screw up front and one in the back, that I could tilt it down and that'd give me enough room to pull the monitor out. This didn't seem to tilt. So I can feel a big gap back there, but there might be more than that screw. There might be a staple that's actually grabbing on. So again, I'm not sure what I'm going to do with this cab at this point. But to turn it back into an Asteroids Deluxe, yeah, basically take 4 screws off, take the monitor shelf off, take the 4 screws off, and pry these blocks off, and then try to line up the blocks at the right angle that they originally were on both sides, which, yeah, not that easy. I mean, I could measure from the base of the cab up, kind of, or easier, I guess, from here down, although with this not being secured, that makes that measurement a little bit iffy. But yeah, again, not sure what I'm going to do with this cab now. It's just turning into more and more work. With the light, you can get a better view of what I was talking about, where the marquee has been melted. It's got all this white stuff, and I think that's like the white residue of the paint stripper that melted into the plastic as the paint thinner melted the plastic. So, yeah, not cool. I haven't vacuumed anything in here yet. I've just kind of been dropping pieces of wood and stuff in there. It's not terrible in there. I haven't taken the coin box out to see what's under there. The only soldering I had to do so far, there were the wire for ground and player one start connected to this, just soldered right to this connector, instead of utilizing the original Atari connector that would have been part of the Asteroids Deluxe harness. Maybe they took that harness out and sold it or something. I don't know. Just kind of odd. This is all there is left of the Atari wiring. Nothing else looks to be from the actual original game. But yeah, they soldered it to the pins. So I unsoldered them and then went around the pins and hopefully was able to get enough of the solder out that if I do get a wiring harness, Asteroids Deluxe, it'll plug in and work. I do think I might have one more connector that mates up with this. I want to say that the other Asteroids Deluxe, I went to DigiKey or Mauser and actually found the part that mates up with this and ordered it, plus several of them, and plus some pins. I might have one left. In fact, I can tell you. Yes. Well, maybe. I think I did this. In fact, I know I did this. Yeah. And to be honest with you right now, I'm not sure why I did that. I'd have to look at my notes on this cabinet because it's been long enough that I can't remember if I bought a complete wiring harness, if I bought an Asteroids wiring harness for an upright or something and modified it. I actually had some of a Asteroids wiring harness in my parts, so maybe I used that. I can't remember. But it looks like at one point I had one or the other of the connectors. I think I still have brown one. I don't know if I have the white one. It looks like the white one's the one I need. So evidently, yeah, whatever wiring harness I used in here must have used a different connector than this one. Maybe they were male and male and I did female and female. I don't know. But I did that just to get the coin switches and the lights working. Didn't wire up the coils, which I'll show them since I was talking about those in the other video. This is the power that goes to the coils, which I've disconnected, even though it's not going through to them. And you can see there's a little metal plate back there. And so the other coils on the other machine, they have the electromagnetic coil thing, but they don't have that little spring-loaded clip. And this one does. And then I unhooked them so power wouldn't go to them, although I'm pretty sure I didn't wire power up to them, so. Anyway, that's part 2. More of a mess. I'm not sure what I want to do with the cab. I really don't want to put that monitor back. It's got horrible burn. And with the monitor shelf being lowered, yeah, I'm leaning more towards maybe long-term project. You know, just shove it, do what I can, shove it behind the double dragon cabinet against the wall and just leave it in parts and look for and think about what I'm going to do and maybe buying Asteroids Deluxe parts as I find them. Again, an Asteroids upright wiring harness I could modify, I'm sure. When I made my Tempest Cabaret, it was a gutted Cabaret cabinet that I got, and I used an upright wiring harness in it, and only things that were different pretty much was that there were some differences, but the major ones were that the upright wiring harness was too short, of all things, to work in the Cabaret. And the reason was that a Tempest Cabaret has the PCB on one wall and the AR2 board on the other wall, whereas an upright Tempest has the PCB on the wall and the AR2 behind the coin box. So those wires were too short. So I just made extensions, put the proper Molex pins on each side and made whatever they were, foot-long extensions, so I wasn't harming the original wiring harness and was able to extend them. I think the speaker was also an issue. Anyway, that's a different topic. Although the speaker is on topic, and here it is. And that's the nastiest speaker I've seen in a while. That thing is just trashed. So it's actually is it rubber? I think it's like a rubber type, rubbery paper or rubber that's on the outside of the cone, and then the cone is paper. And it's just disintegrated. As I took it off, pieces were falling. I mean, if I push on it, yeah, I just pushed that off. Yeah, I mean, it's toast. Now it's all over the floor. So yeah, and I don't think this is the right speaker either. This is I don't think that's right. I'm not gonna be able to show it because the light's gonna be too bright probably. There's the outline of it, but the holes didn't seem to line up with the holes that were already in the front panel. So yeah, just thinking that wasn't the right speaker anyway. And I don't think I have one. I think the speaker in my other Asteroids Deluxe is also, it's not an original one, but I think it was the original size, so I'm pretty sure I don't have an original. So, okay, first update, same day as the first video. More and more, this is looking like kind of a horror show, but we'll see what direction I'm going to go. Although it's more and more looking like maybe I will be restoring it to an Asteroids Deluxe Cabaret. It just will probably take me quite a while because of finding parts and spending the money on the parts, when in the end I don't need 2 Asteroid Deluxe Cabarets. So another thing I could do, depending on the depth of a monitor, is put the shelf back at the right height and see if I could fit a monitor in horizontally. Either that the Sanyo monitor, or 13-inch Wells Gardner, or I could put, my friend suggests putting one of those 10-inch monitors in there. That would be kind of funny. A little teeny weeny screen inside the Cabaret. But you know what? It would definitely fit, and it would make it so I could like throw a JAMA harness in there, wire it up, and it would be a working machine to play something on until I could finish getting the Asteroid Deluxe parts to restore it. Which comes back to the control panel. I'd have to not work on that and keep a joystick and probably add a button, which I wouldn't have to drill a hole because there's already a hole. I just have to drill it through the plexiglass in the top. So at least it would be playable. I don't know. Anyway, I'm at the rambling point, so it's time to stop the video. Probably time to clean up because it's a mess. And that's it.